About 5 billion people globally are expected to have myopia by 2050. That's about half the world's population. While genetics play an important role in myopia, recent research shows that device screen time significantly increases the risk of developing high myopia and myopic macular degeneration. A new children's book series uses creative messaging to teach children how to avoid the pitfalls of excessive device usage and establish a healthy relationship with emerging technology. Now, for more, we're joined by the author of the book series, Hwee Goh, and Associate Professor Mo Dirani, founding managing director of Plano, the health tech firm that piloted this book series. Now, Professor Dirani is also honorary principal investigator at the Singapore Eye Research Institute. Thank you both.
Hello, Steve.
Thank you.
Mo, I'll come to you first and help us understand the link then between myopia and sort of too much screen time with devices.
Well, traditionally, what was associated with the development and progression of myopia was the amount of time spent reading or the number of books read per week. But in this digital age, there's emerging evidence from 8 population-based studies from 5 countries, including some in the region, that have shown this association with excessive device use. That's important to highlight. So it's not a small amount, but it's rather, you know, the 2 to 3 or 4 hours a day that's now being linked with myopia. And these population-based studies have really focused on kids as young as 5 up to their teenage years. So it's really that early age that we need to intervene to avoid the incidence of high myopia that's typically associated with sight-threatening conditions.
And Hwee, you
so you have the scientists with all the research, and you have the artist, the writer, and we put these two together because we're trying to reach out to children 5 to 9, because that's where they'll develop habits as to device use. Are you a slave to your device, or are you in control? So in my books, it is written such that you read it as a storybook, but you also know you have the magic. So the magic system in this fantasy series is very interesting. It's all based on Mo's science. The magic system is that you have the power to cut from your device use.
Cut the cord. It sounds like some adults could benefit from reading this book as well.
That's right.
But all of us do. I mean, it's not to say that we are against devices. I think every nation is realizing the wave that's coming against us. If you know China is realizing, maybe you can tell us a bit more.
I think just to go back to that previous point, I think bringing arts and science together is actually quite important. And it is science that's available in the literature as well as my own science. And to be able to translate that and be able to communicate with children directly, utilizing, you know, creative books with a fantastic illustrator as well. 2 local gems, Hwee and Dave in Singapore, was a blessing. So the Chinese government has sort of indicated that excessive device use or gaming has been associated with myopia in the country. You probably saw several multinational companies, you know, lose some shares there. But it's really about the responsible device use that we're trying to sort of portray or relay to the audience in Singapore and beyond, actually, because it's a global issue. It's not just a Singapore issue.
It certainly is. So it could sort of start here, and then I suppose this could be translated into multiple languages. There's no reason why this story or this book couldn't then sort of spread the message.
I think a clear indication was that before I even finished book 3, China rights were bought. So I think they're realizing they need to reach out to their children as well.
And what actually inspired you to sort of take this on in the first place? Was it? I mean, how did this collaboration even come together?
I wonder myself.
I was incredibly blessed. I pitched this to Hwee because obviously she's got quite a track record, and I was very lucky that Hwee and Dave understood my madness, and here we are several months later with 5 books and a series that has gone international, actually. So it is available in the UK, US, and it will be in China in a very big way.
And a very conscious effort to go with books as opposed to having these sort of being able and available on a device.
I think, I mean, I spent a whole lifetime trying to get every child to bridge from a picture book to a novel. And these are called early chapter books. And so I used illustrations, our illustrator David Liu. I used his illustrations to tell the story, because a child at 6, 7, 8 might not be ready. So they need all the pictures.
And how long have these been available for? You say they've come out a few months.
Well,
What's the reaction been like to them?
It's several months. It's thousands of copies. So thank you. They are reaching out to us, and they're available in bookstores across the nation. But to go back to your question about why books are not screens, I mean, these can be read in a shorter period of time. They're a lot bigger. There's no the lighting is not an issue, and typically, you know, a child will walk away from a book, whereas the screen is a lot more engaging. There's an addictive element to it too, and so bringing it back to old school books that can then be also supported by schools across the nation is quite important.
That's right, because Plano is going to all the schools, and these books are going as well, not just to tell them about myopia, but also about gaming, device dependency, cyberbullying.
So this is going to branch out into more aspects of life.
Yeah, so the Health Promotion Board has been incredibly generous in supporting this initiative, and so we're presenting on the importance of the optics of the eye, as well as myopia, its risk factors across the nation.
Okay.
So we've already been to about 35 schools, primary schools, but excessive device use, you should touch them and have a good
so I just wanted to hold them up. So carry on talking, and then while you're talking, I'll just hold that up there.
I'll tell you, the core magic, okay, it's Professor Plano, and it's a pair of twins, identical twins. One uses a device, one does not. So one wears glasses, one does not. So no matter what your genes, if you observe certain
well, it's excessive near work and the lack of outdoor activity, but the ones that you're holding in your hand there, the never-ending game is about gaming disorder that's been classified by the World Health Organization. The one on your right is actually the importance of getting outdoors at least 1 to 2 hours a day. That's been shown to be protective for myopia. Trouble in Mercktown was the first one, and that's really on about myopia.
That's the one every kid liked, and then they continued to read every book in the series.
And then there's the very touching one, which is about cyberbullying, and the last one we flip it on its head, where the devices turn against us. So they stop working. What would a world be without technology? So it's quite an entertaining one, actually.
Yeah, well, fascinating. Thank you both so much for coming in and sharing this with you. Hwee Goh, author of the Plano Adventures, and Associate Professor Mo Dirani, founding Managing Director of Plano and Honorary Principal Investigator at the Singapore Eye Research Institute. That is a mouthful.